Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Lisa, and today I'm going to make some pages that will be like things you put in a signature, but they're not like just the regular folded page. I've done several of these kinds before, but I'm just trying to think of different ideas, different configurations, different looks to be able to put in between. So what I have here is just 3 pages that I would like normally maybe put into a journal, and then I'm going to just put the stuff between, use this as a prop, as they say. So I'll put this to the side for the moment, and we will start with my first idea. All right, so the first idea, I'm taking an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. I think this was from a, not a cardstock, but like a card pack, and it might have actually been, I think, basic gray. I don't think it was Tim Holtz. I've had it for a while, let's just say that. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to fold this to make long pockets to go into the journal. So I'm going to score about 1/2 inch just to give, whoops, that just slid right out of its little thing. 1/2 inch just to give it a place to glue down instead of folding it in half and gluing it onto itself. So probably could have done a little smaller if I wanted to, a little bigger, but I think 1/2 inch is pretty good. So instead of folding this piece of paper in half to make the pocket, I did this little tab thing so that there's a little bit more room in the pocket, I think. All right, so I'm going to fold this over to glue. And just make sure it's try to get straight. All right, so this is going to go in the signature, so I'm going to fold it this way also, just to get the signatures fold in its place. Now, when I was thinking about this, I was also thinking, like this is folded in half to go into a signature. Grab my prop after I glue it. So I was thinking, so it's going to go in here, and I'm going to put some holes in there. I was thinking you also could fold it not in half to make one shorter, and then maybe cut a bit off, cut an end off and make one shorter, one longer. But for this demonstration, I'm going to keep it like that. All right, so I'm going to put some holes in here. I'm going to do it before I close, just to make it a little easier to get to. Now this is single-sided, so we're going to see the white on the other side. If you don't want to see the white, you could do a couple things. You could either use double-sided paper, or you could take a little, get my ink pad over here, take just a little bit of ink and ink the back side so it's not as white as an option. All right, so let's glue it in place. And we're going to just put a little line on the end of this tab. And we'll put a glue on this side so that I know it catches. And glue it together. So simple. Again, so this is going to make, but you see how it gets a little bit more room to put something in there because there's that little tab thing. So when you go to put it in, straighten this out. When you put it in as part of the signature, you can put journal cards in there. It'll be sewn in here. It'll catch on there. And then on the other side, you'll have another pocket over here. You could technically, if you wanted to, glue down the bottom and make this into a pocket and a pocket. But I think it'd be fun to leave it as a flip. You could put some tea-dyed, coffee-dyed paper in the back here just to give it as like a hidden journaling spot or something like that. But that is an easy way to add something fun. Now, if you really wanted to, and I was playing with stuff here, I made a second one, or a prototype. If you wanted to, you could put 2 on a page and have 2 of them on each side. So that's an option for that. So the first one. Beautiful. All right, prototype to the side. Ink glue closed. All right, so the next one I'm going to use, I'm going to use a double-sided piece of paper here. This has a print and a print. And what I'm going to do is I'm also going to fold it to make pockets, but not fold it all the way. I'm going to keep this here, and I'm going to fold this up And you can see why the reason why I wanted double-sided is because then there's, you know, something here. If you just use a white, it would be just white. And then we're going to take each one. And this might not be the best example for it, but I think there's still pretty enough stuff on there. And we're going to just fold the corners down. Now you could fold the corners down like I have here to make this, or if you really wanted to make a long angled pocket, just don't go past the center and do that. Have a long slit or a small slit. And go ahead and trim this down. I'm not going to take the whole thing off. I'm just going to take a bit of the bulk off. And we can go ahead and glue this down. Just going to use my stick glue because this is thinner paper. But we're going to just glue that down just to give it a little bit of strength on that pocket. Okay, so for this, it is also going to be a half pocket. And if it's sewn in there, you can leave it, you don't have to glue any of it. But I'll put that here. All right, so on this side, pretty, right? You have a little side pocket, flips open. You could put it, you know, put it in the center, put it farther down, little side pocket. But then when you get to this side, since I did the smaller fold, you also have a little side tuck there. And again, depending on what's on the reverse side, you could add some tea dye. This is kind of writable for that. But I probably wouldn't do a white background for this because I wouldn't want white for the pocket. But that is definitely something you could do for that. But that is a fun way to do it. Here is my prototype that I did. Now I also did, and I didn't do on this one, is I ended up cutting this part open to give a little bit more flexibility and a little less bulk in there. And all I did was fold it down and just ever so slightly just cut the little center part out. This one I did do a double fold. I didn't glue it down or cut it yet, because you can see that that was like that. And once again, a fun, but again, this backing was pretty light. You could decorate this or write on it. But that is, I think, a fun pocket. I really do like these two choices. This is thinner paper, so I'm not too worried about cutting the center on them. But again, if you wanted to cut the center on it, just to give a little less bulk out of that pocket, I just fold it, see where the line is going to be, and I just ever so slightly cut a little bit off till I get to the fold. And that cuts out a little bit, so it leaves room for it to fold. Yeah, cute. Number 2. I like them. Keep both of them. Okay. Onward to number 3. All right, let's get this out of here. All right, for number 3, I'm going to take 2 pieces of paper. These are both white-sided, but I would probably maybe have this one double-sided in the back. I just don't have one right now that's handy for it, but I would probably do that. Or, again, we can just take this and use this as an opportunity to stamp on it, or use some fun mixed media on there or whatever. But this one I've done before. This one's really simple. So I'm going to fold them both in half just to start out. There we go. And all we're going to do is we're going to just fold just the top down. And again, depending on how big you want the pocket, you can do that. You can make it a little bit smaller if you wanted to. If you just wanted to do a littler pocket, you could do that. But I think, especially if you've got pretty pages in the back, you'd want to make a nice bigger pocket. So I'm going to, once again, just trim this off so there's less bulk on this page and glue this down. Now, the other thing you could do, I'm going to glue this just for time-wise. But you could definitely sew this. And I'll show you where I would sew it once I get this little edge glued down. Oh, I jumped right in without asking how you're doing. Hopefully you're doing well. Hopefully you're better than me. I had just come back from bringing my car back from the shop. I had to get a new battery, and the windshield wiper reservoir had a hole in it, a crack in it, so it was leaking wiper shield fluid all over my garage. So I had to get that replaced. And you know, $850 later, you're like, seriously? Deep breath. I tell my husband, that's like, you know, 2 months car payments versus our 13-year-old car. So we're gonna have to deal with it. Okay, so back to this. I digress. You could definitely sew it here, down and up to make a pocket. You could sew it down the center if you wanted to. I'm gonna just glue it down the two sides and the bottom instead of sewing it. But sewing this would be really cute, I would think. But since I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with this, if I'm gonna use it in something, or since that white is the back of this is white, I might have to still, you know, play with it, paint it or something, stamp on it. I don't want to add the stitching to it necessarily. Because you would see that, you know, the stitching back here. But yeah, so that's nice and cute and easy. Just take a nice big place for journal card, a nice place to decorate, add some fun stuff to it. You could also maybe add some lace trims on here, make more pockets going this way. There's so many things you could do with these and be able to decorate them. But like I said, I know I've done this one before. It's pretty popular, but I think there's a lot of options when making this. And being these are two thin scrapbook pieces of paper, when this goes in here, it's not really putting a lot of bulk, even though it has a lot of opportunity for things. Yeah. So there, I didn't make an example of this one because I've done it so much. So this is the only version I have of that one. Okay. All right. Next one's not paper. It is actually a doily to make a centerpiece here. I have 10-inch doilies here. Almost lost my prototypes or my sample pages. I got these, I believe, when Joann's was closing, but I'm pretty sure like Michael's has food stuff, and I think even Walmart does. 10-inch is the one that I have. So just to make it simple, what you could do, and I've done this with smaller ones, is you can take and you can color these, and I think this probably has a little bit of, this purple could be fun. Gotta be careful though, you don't want to rip it. All right, so what we're going to do is we are going to fold it, not in half, but we're going to fold it up until the circle there. And I'm going to go ahead and paint this side. It'd be fun to even do, if you wanted to, do a different color. Be able to have like I don't have my ink pads on here. I just grabbed ones that had a bit of color on the edge, just to go. But it could be definitely fun. You could color this one here if you wanted to. I don't know if I have oh, that doesn't have any color. Just randomly grabbing. A lot of them keep the color on them. There we go. So you'd have a pretty thing. I would probably do the opposite side too. All we're going to do then is fold it in half to make two pockets. not to rip it. And go this way. All right, there we go. So let's put that in there. All right, so once you sew it into the journal, this can become a pocket. You can keep this as a flip if you wanted to, like I said, paint this back. If you don't want to, you could attach it to a sheet of paper, glue it down the bottom so that you have a tuck and a tuck spot. And again, with the same on the other side. Glue it at the bottom, have a tuck and a tuck, or don't glue it down and just have a tuck and a spot to write in the back. But it's so pretty. I mean, this is really pretty in here. It's kind of unexpected. I might have to go back and find some prettier green to put in there, but I like it. Yeah, wasn't planning on it, but there you go. Unexpected signature add-ons. Okay, back out of the way. All right, what's next? All right, so what's next is I'm going to take a square piece of heavier cardstock. So let's grab this. It needs to be something that doesn't go directional. Now, this is not square. This is 8.5 by 11, but a quick way to make something square, we can just go ahead and do it. Now, like I said, this is 8.5, so I could cut it down to 8.5, but instead of trying to measure it, I find the best thing to do is just fold it up to itself. And I'm just going to cut this little excess off here. Save that, of course. All right, so now we have what would have been a square. All right, so next thing we're going to do is I'm going to fold in the opposite direction, because one has to be to go into the signature. And all right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to round the corners. So I'm going to take the top and I'm going to round that. And the easiest way to do this is then flip it this way and go ahead and round this. Now I am using my big one. If you don't have a big one, you could use a smaller one. Or you could just, round it like that. And since this was square, you really can put it either direction you wanted to have it for that. But if you wanted to check it both ways and see if one looks better than the other, like this has some pretty pink flowers just centered, so I might want to have that as my option. Nice bone folds. I did use, like I said, the thicker paper just to get it some strength. You could use thinner paper, but it's not going to be as strong. So let's show it in the example. Now, when I did my sample, I did cut it down a little bit farther because it was sticking out, and I think this one might do the same. So let's see. Yep, it is sticking out. So I'm just going to go ahead and we're going to go ahead and, I don't think I used the biggest one. We're going to go ahead and see if the bigger one will make it a little bit shorter, or do I have to cut it down a little bit further? All right, I wanted those two. Yep, those two. Still sticking out a little bit. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to put it in there so the top angle is facing that way. And we're going to snip it, and we're going to do it one more time and really knock it off. See how much I knocked off? Put the top angle up at the top, and whoops, one more time. All right, let's see if that works. Now, again, taking scissors and curving them would work also. If you want to cut them straight, you can. I just think the curve looks a little fancier. That's good now. Now it's not sticking out as much. All right, so again with this, you can glue it down if you wanted to. I am not going to glue it down when I use them probably. I'll have them be as a flap, so you can put your item in there. And it becomes a flap on the back, just like the other side. Just an easy place to put something. And this card's upside down. Put something. And there you go. Now, if you wanted to put a thumb hole in there, you could do that also. But I don't think being these are thicker and they're not really, they're not going to be hard to put something inside. They kind of puff open on their own. All right, so that is that one. And again, like I said, here is my prototype. Same kind of premise to do them. I did pick patterns that looked good. Not really words or something that can be flipped upside down, because you are flipping it upside down. So that worked for that. All right, moving on. Okay, so the next idea is very similar to the previous one we did, where we have the sheet up and just fold the corners. But for this one, I ended up taking one of these and folding all 4 corners in. So I folded all 4 corners in. I could probably go ahead and trim this down to get rid of some of the bulk and the heaviness of it. I did use, again, the thicker cardstock just to make these pockets strong. But I am going to attach it to a lighter, thinner piece of double-sided paper. And I did do double-sided because I wanted this background to have something on there, and then when the pages, there'd be something on there. So let's go ahead and I'm going to just use the art glitter glue just to make it a little easier, quicker, hopefully quicker. Now, I also wanted to mention that if you haven't checked out my new Patreon, the link is below. Hopefully you would. I do have a couple levels. I've got the Sunrise gals who get my digitals, $3. And then I got a Whirlybirds group that gets the digitals and some of my ephemera that I make. So I just wanted to, and then there's another one where you get the naked journals. I still have to make my December naked journal. I'll show those upcoming soon. But for the folks that have signed up for the Whirlybirds, I've sent out a message also to it, but just as a reminder that if you ever see something I make on the ephemera, like, so let's say when I was making this and you really loved it, you leave me a note saying, oh, Lisa, I really like that green one with the flowers. Because I do send between 10 and 15 pieces to everybody. So if you've got some favorites, or you got a theme you're working on, like you're doing some birds, or, you know, you're doing frogs or something, or a mushroom journal, or, you know, some sort of book journal, let me know, and I'll make sure that when I'm looking for the 10 to 15 pieces to fulfill your monthly orders that I send out on around the 15th of the month, that you let me know what you're looking for, so I can kind of gear stuff toward maybe what you're looking for and not totally random. Of course, if you want totally random, that's good. Don't have to let me know. But yeah, so you have about a week or so. You see anything that you like, please don't hesitate to reach out and let me know. Okay, so now that these are dried, now there's a couple ways to do this. So you can go ahead and glue it down to the center or the 2 edges, which is probably what I'm going to do down here so that it goes. But you also want to glue down the center here so that when you want to tuck something in, that it doesn't fall through. So you have a tuck here, a tuck here, a tuck here, and a tuck here. So for this one, oh, and then also what I did, as you saw, I folded them over. I did round these edges. I thought they would look prettier rounded than the square flat ones. So let's just make sure that this page is facing the right way, and I think the flowers look good that way. Okay, so we're just going to make sure that it is in the fold, and we're just going to do our best to put a straight line, and we'll glue the top and the bottom down. again, we will just go ahead and do a straightest line and glue the top and the bottom. Oops, put my finger in the glue. All right, so we want to make sure that when we glue it, that we do glue it where it's folded so it stays like this, because if you notice when you open it, it does kind of bow a little bit. If you glue it when it's flat, it's going to be harder to close, and you want it to be able to close a little flatter. So we're going to make sure it goes like that, and once it's completely dry, that'll be easier to open and close. But yeah, there is that. So put that inside of a signature. This is very similar. Let's put it with this one. All right, so you've got that side, and then you've got pocket, pocket, and then you've got your pages, and on the other side, you got pocket, pocket. I did one similar to this. I think I remember doing it in my black and white journal. I remember doing it. But I really think, like I said, the light paper is good. You probably could do light paper for this, especially since you're folding it over. This definitely leads the pockets to being very sturdy. So I did that. Yeah, that's the only one I did, because this was part of the, I cut the pieces for the exhibition for it. I did not have a separate one for it. Okay. Moving on. I'll have to count. I'm not sure how many ideas I have. I'll have to count these out. You probably know. It's probably in the title. All right, for the next one, I'm going to start with an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. And you might not be able to do this if you don't have any of these fancy punches. But you can sort of do it if you have like maybe a decorative scissor or a trim you want to use to make this. So I am going to use the punch. I'm going to use this one. This one I got at Michael's. These two I got a long time ago. Couldn't tell you where I got them. All right, so I'm going to just take the normal 8.5 by 11. We're just going to fold it in half. There appears to be words on here, so I might want to make sure they go up and down, but I don't think it matters that much. All right, so we're going to fold it in half. And then we're going to fold back about an inch and a half, and it's just an eyeball. And we're going to go ahead and fold this one. And it doesn't have to be the exact same width, because again, it's going to go on one side of a signature, on the other side of a signature. All right, so what we're going to do is we are going to punch these edges, and we're going to glue them down to make them pretty. Now, you probably could get to the end, almost. You probably could, I'm going to glue them down. This is a little bit thicker paper. I'm trying to line that up. I want the holes. There we go. Well, that didn't punch all the way through. Did it too quick. You can, what was I saying? You can fold this over and use it as a tuck spot, especially if it's not as fancy or you think it might get ruined. But if you think it's going to get ruined, you can glue it all the way down. I'm going to glue it down. Now, as you see, I'm also using the double-sided paper just because I want to get a contrast for the two sides. And you probably could use single-sided if you want to, but you're not going to get as much contrast from it. Try not to do it too fast. If I do it too fast, I end up skipping something like I did there. Or double cutting it. Oh well. This one is a disaster. So I think I'm going to trim this off. and start again. Probably should have used a straight edge, but I think it's okay. And I might not have to fold it any farther. We'll have to see. There we go. I'm kind of doing it backwards too. Like I can't see I got a bit of a glare there. Can't see where my little loops are. I know, excuses, excuses. What happens when he tries doing stuff on camera that you probably shouldn't and be concentrating a little bit more on. I like this paper, that's why I just didn't want to just fold it over and glue it and say we're all good, because I do like the paper. These from Michaels do have a catch bin. Which makes it nice because my other ones don't have a catch bin. Okay, so like I said, we are going to glue this down. But if you wanted to make it be a tuck spot, you could just put glue on the top or the bottom. But I'm just doing it just so it is pretty. Make sure it gets well sealed. All right, so this one, the pink went to the flower, and this one I'm going to do the flower to the pink. And I think it's okay being small. I could, like I said, fold it a little bigger, but it would have been folded over a little bit more. But I think it's pretty. I think it's pretty even being small. So obviously you're losing some of this page width on here, but I think that's what's fun about adding these unique signature pages. Just give some variety to the journal. Not everything is the same without there. There's different steps and sizes. Yeah, it's pretty, right? All right, so again, this is probably not the book it would go into, but just to show it. So you would have it, and you'd have something sticking out, and then pretty little trim there, and then again on this side, can't really tell. You can see what's behind here, and then on here you got the pretty little trim. And if you, like I said, if you just want to glue there, then you'd have a tuck spot. But otherwise, I think it's just pretty, and it has a little bit of fun to it. This is the other one that I did as the example. So I did have a digital that I printed. It had a more neutral side. So the printed side, when it got flipped over, it was really pretty here with all these colors. And then on this side, the neutral side flipped onto this, and it still shows the flowers. But so how pretty is that, right? You can sit there and put it on the flower part. You can see the stuff behind it, writing space, blank. That really kind of goes with it, those colors, doesn't it? And then the prettiness. So yeah. So if you got it, now as I was saying, if you don't have those trims, what you could do when you have that folded over point is add a bit of fun trim that gets folded over and glued onto there, or some washi tape, using some pinking shears just to make it fun, just to add a little bit of extra trim to the outside. But folding it in, making it shorter, is really definitely one of the fun parts about it, to give a little bit of variety into each journal. Okay, that one's done, as they say. Moving on. All right, so the next one is going to involve 2 pages, and I am going to, these are white on the inside, but double-sided would work, but it's not totally necessary. All right, we're going to fold it this way. I do have a thicker paper and a thinner paper. Thinner papers would work on this either way for what we're doing. Okay, so might be easier to show my prototype before I go and explain it. So here is the prototype, and I haven't glued it together yet. So basically, we are going to have 2 layers of paper, where we're going to have tucks and we're going to have fold pockets going in here. I used my pretty stamped paper. I'll probably glue this one together after we do this, but yeah. All right, so for the top one, I'm going to fold it in And it probably would be better if there was two-sided. Now that I'm thinking about it, this is single-sided. So I'm going to have to go ahead and decorate this at some point. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to just try to get it even-ish. So if you had a scoreboard or something, measurer, it would probably be helpful to go this way. All right, there we go. Okay, and for the backside one, we are going to flip this in, not as far as that one, because we do want it to be sticking out farther than our first piece. I'd like to see if I can find a printed one. Shall we use this? Let's use that. Okay. All right, we're going to fold it in half. This is probably bigger than 8.5 by 11 just because it was a rub-off sheet, but I think I'm going to make it that way. That probably should have been double-sided too, but that's okay. All right, so we're going to make that one the inside since this is bigger to start. And we're going to just fold this in. And fold this in. All right, so all we want to make sure is that the back one is slightly larger than the front one. And it is. Beautiful. And I probably could chop down the height of this, just to make them the same height. And I think I will do that. Whoops. There we go. Sidetrack, just a little sidetrack. That's okay. This is what happens when you craft. You can kind of go along with what you want. So, again, if you wanted to, I don't have it with me here. I think I could probably get some purple out of here since there's some purple in there. Make it double-sided. Or just add some washi tape or paint or something. There we go. Beautiful. Okay. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to glue these flaps down as if they were side tucks. So we're going to use the art glitter since this is a bit heavier. And I probably could have folded these in farther, but they're folded now and they're inked, so. Just leads to a huge variety of what you need to do. Okay, so for this one, this back one, we want to glue these flaps down all together. And since this is thinner, it's probably better to have it the one that you've glued the flap down completely just to give it some strength. So we're going to glue that down. And glue this one down. Whoops. So we are going to glue this page to this page. So I'm just going to put some glue on the top and the bottom to make a tuck. And kind of like with that one that had the triangles, you want to make sure that it is folded. I'm going to glue that since it's the shorter side. Glue that. you want to make sure that it is glued when it's folded so that it wants to stay folded. All right, while this is kind of drying, I'm going to go ahead and glue this one down. And so this one was all double-sided, which you can see how this is probably not a bad idea to do. I did decide to keep the most seen, actually, this part, because it's more writable. I definitely could have did it this way, where we flipped the brown to the outside, but I like this little hint of just a little bit of foliage. All right, and I glued that piece together already. So we're going to go ahead and there we go. We're going to go ahead and glue this down. And go ahead and glue this side down. All right, so now this is probably glued enough to, dry enough to show. Okay, so it would go into the journal like this, and then this side has a tuck spot for something, as well as there is a nice big area to put something in here. And it gets sewn in so it'll stop where the halfway point is. And then on this side, the same thing. We have a fun little tuck spot here, and we've got a spot to put something in there, and a pretty design. I like it. It's definitely a little bit different from signature pages I've ever seen. This one's really pretty. This card would really go with it too. It's got to be a little skinnier card for that, but that's okay. So pretty. I like how these even kind of go together. I love it. I love it. So fun. A little card. And since this is a little bit shorter, you can get a bigger card that sticks out a little bit, and it's okay because it's not going to stick outside of the journal because it's a little bit shorter. And then you got the other side. Love it. I love it. Very fun. I really like that painted version too. Very cool. I like them both. I like them both. That's for sure. Okay. Well, if I could find my cap. There it is. Put that on there. And we'll get the sample journal to the side. And let's count how many we've got. All right, so we've got this double pocket. That is 1. We got the lace flip around cutoffs. That is 2. We've got this 4 pocket. That is 3. We got the square turned into pockets. That is 4. We got our fun little doily. That is 5. We have this triangle shape one. That is 6. We have these that are similar with the triangles. Those 2 different ways to fold them. That is 7. And then we've got these kind of like coin pockets, library pockets, which is 8. We got a lot. We got a lot. Okay. 8 different ways to make different signatures. And there's still variations on each of them. So they're not really just 8. There's 8 plus. Okay. Well, I think that's going to be it for me today. I appreciate, as usual, each and every one of you that stopped by. And again, don't forget to check out the Patreon account if you want to sign up for that. Still got time to do that, as well as don't forget to check out the Ko-Fi freebie. I did that stamp one recently to do these stamps. Those were fun to do. So don't forget to check out Ko-Fi to look for the freebies that are there. Okay, that is going to be it for me today. Thanks so much for stopping by. And as usual, I hope you all have a wonderful and creative day. Bye for now.